Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Viseven Co-Creators, the podcast where we peel back the curtain on the people and the passion driving our global digital team. So, I'm your host, Roxolana, and today we are diving deep into a world where the high stakes meet high speed innovation. And joining me today to discuss how we enable this transformation are two incredible experts. Liliya Borovets, our learning experience lead, and Valeriia Redko, our learning enablement specialist. Ladies, hi. From learning enablement, leadership perspective, how do you think about what your team is actually here doing? And that's actually a question for Liliya, I think. And for Valeriia, what does the mission look like from where you sit day to day? And how would you describe it to your grandma?
I guess I will start, and thank you. That's a very thoughtful question. And as you mentioned, that we are working in a learning solution team, and I think it's very easy to explain overall to people what does it mean, because we are all naturally humans, as we are born as learners, right? So it's quite easy to connect to it. But what makes our work specific, it's actually that we are doing that with the digital transformation, customer transformation mindset. And what does it mean? For me, it always comes back to the question, what is the business of our clients is actually trying to achieve, and how do we enable their teams to do their job better and with the help of technology as working in that company. So there is a framework that I am often using to reply to this question, and it's 3H. The heart, the head, and the hands. And the heart is the purpose. And honestly, it's something that fuels people, because we are, as you mentioned, we are working with people that are responsible for products that are impacting longevity, survival rates, and overall quality of life of people. So it's really important that we connect to that purpose that they carry, because otherwise we're just experiencing friction, right? So the heart gives people that fuel, that resilience to move through the change. The hands is a competence. So we're asking ourselves, do people have the strategic understanding of the new processes, of the new tools, on the new ways of working, and those outcomes that they're working towards? And the hands is a capability. So do they have the tools, the pathways, the needed support to execute on the daily basis? And I think what's important to mention here is that only when we have those 3H together, the transformation is possible. And this is what defines learning that sticks and learning that doesn't, learning that supports change and learning that doesn't. So I believe that in my role, I'm bridging this technology adoption with the human impact. And we win the hearts by connecting with the people's purpose. We equip the hands with the tools, of course, and we building these companies. We are helping the head to understand the strategic direction and how to move forward. And of course, this is not just my team like Valeriia here today, but also many other teams that are standing behind the products and services we are offering, because transformation is never the solo effort. And Valeriia probably can tell you more.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Lila. So how it looks like practically from where I sit, basically it means translating big and often very abstract changes like new systems, processes, or ways of working, also habits of working, into something that brand teams can actually use in real life. So not in theory, not on a PPT slide deck, but in the middle of tight deadlines, MLR reviews, and also global coordination. If I had to explain it to my grandma, oof, I actually tried. So what I'd say, I help people in pharma companies understand how to do their job better when things change, so that important information can get to the doctors faster and more clearly. And to add on top of that, a big part of the whole process is reducing friction. If learning doesn't make somebody's days easier, it's not going to make its job, right? Sometimes companies want faster launches, better quality, fewer errors, but all that depends at the end of the day on humans who are already rather overwhelmed and juggling 10 things at once. So before expecting better results, you actually have to support the people to do their work Otherwise, it's just like asking somebody to run faster while trying to tie their shoes together.
Brand managers are working under pressure. That's like pharma peculiarities, let's say. We have this, tight review windows, global rollouts, affiliate complexity. And what does it takes to design and deliver learning that's actually useful in that environment at all? And Lily, what do you look for in your team? And question for Valeriia, what is demand of your personality?
Learning only useful when it meets three, let's say, non-negotiable conditions. One is that it should be relevant to the people who are doing their job, right? The second, that it should be applied very close to the moment of the need. And the third, that they need to have some agency, or let's say internal capacity and mind space to engage with this. Because we are just not transferring data from PowerPoint to human brain, but we are trying to change the behavior. And this is what you said, it's way more complex. And I think the challenge in pharma specifically is the context itself is a labyrinth. So we know that brand managers, they don't have time for the abstract training. Because yes, they are in the middle of product launches, of campaign launches, managing vendors, other teams, and they actually need that support to meet them where they are in the process. So I think what I look for in my team is that ability to design for that complexity and for that reality. And I think people who are asking me when it will make sense for the people that we are meeting, or what is the experience that they should have, rather than asking what we should deliver, right? That's the definitive moment, because that shifts from the content first approach to the context first approach that defines everything. So, and another element I think that I'm looking for is that people who can combine empathy and also expertise. So they genuinely care about the client and what the client is trying to achieve, but also they have enough expertise to propose a better solution. Because it happens often that it's easy to say yes to anything, right, to everything, but it's much more important to say yes and guide our clients also, so they can shape better solutions that can actually yield better results at the end.
When it comes to what it requires from me personally, I think it requires a mix that's not always obvious, so prepare for the open answer. First of all, you need to understand the business context, not only the learning theory. You have to know what a brand manager is dealing with, right? Multiple markets, approvals, and time pressure, of course. Otherwise, you risk creating something that looks really good, but it's not usable. And honestly, for me personally, it wasn't that obvious at the very beginning. I came from much more informal kind of environment. So suddenly hearing about MLR reviews, affiliates, global versus local structures, I was like, I understand all of these words separately, but not how they're playing together, right? So that was definitely a learning curve for me. Thus, before we design anything, we need to understand how the business actually works, not just how it's described in presentations. And to add on top of that, reading the room is huge. Even if we are working with similar roles like brand managers or excellence leads, the reality is very different at the global, regional, and local levels. So what makes a perfect sense at a global level might feel completely different for an affiliate. Sometimes it may be felt like you're designing one solution, but for three different realities. And simultaneously you're trying to balance it for each of those realities. And second, what Lily also mentioned, empathy is critical. People won't engage with something that feels like extra work, because people have habits, and those habits are very strong ones. When they have been working in a certain way for years, they naturally go back to what feels similar. And training isn't about explaining something new, it's about helping people to unlearn what typically works for them. and that's usually the hardest part out of all. Third, you need to be very practical. We spend a lot of time on thinking, will somebody actually use this tomorrow? If the answer is no, we need to simplify. It sounds simple, but it's actually not, because simplifying without losing that important information is a bit of an art. And bear with me, finally it's adaptability. Every market, every team, every project is slightly different and unique. There is no one-size-fits-all solution in pharma learning. So overall, it's really about understanding people, understanding context, and making things easier, not more complicated.
As you emphasize that learning and enablement in pharma, that's really specific way. And neither of you probably plan to end up here, right? Yeah, I think so. So, Lily, what has brought you to do such kind of job, And Valeriia, something about you, like what about you? What shaped how you approach this today?
Well, you're right. I think no one plans to work in such a specific field at some point, but I think overall my career was connected in some way to learning, to enablement, to education, but just in a very different context. And I think what drives me overall is this question: can I help people to do the job better, to feel more empowered, to feel more accomplished, and so on. So I think pharma turned out to be a very interesting playground to explore this question, because as Valeriia mentioned, it's a quite complex industry and you can't simplify your way through it. You simply need to understand how the system works to be useful in it, right? And I think what changed probably in my career, like early, I thought that my role would be to bring people answers, bring people knowledge. But now we live in the world where answers are constantly available, right? Just ask any AI tool and you have the best knowledge in the world captured like in the response. But I think what's changing overall in learning is that we need to create more moments for people to reflect, to produce insight, to bounce back the ideas. And this becomes more real in the learning process. So why I'm sharing this, I think this is not something that I have answered to, like what is this learning career about, but something that I'm practicing daily. And overall, I believe that every person is a permanent student, and the better we study ourselves, our clients, the industry, the better results we can bring to the table.
From my perspective, I also definitely didn't start out thinking that one day I will start working in learning and enablement in pharma. That was not my initial plan. My background was rather related to marketing, and then I moved into the product training, and the focus there was very different. It was rather practical and tool driven. Here is how it works. Click here, do this, click there, you have the results. When I moved to pharma, it was quite a shift for me, because suddenly I started working with very experienced professionals in much more structured environment, where people have been doing certain things in a certain way for years. And thus, today for me, it's not about explaining something, it's about gently challenging the habits that people already have. So before it felt more like, let me show how this works. Right now it's more like, let's review how we can amplify your work with the new tools and processes. As you can see, that's a different kind of the conversation. And on top of that, we also sit within the change management department, which is a whole world by itself. I didn't fully realize what that meant at first, but it really shapes how we are working. Because you quickly understand that it's not about training people, it's about helping them to go through this curve of change, which is much messier and much more human.
It is what I like to say that I think you are some kind of influencers for our company, right? And for our clients, really. Because all of this thing you are doing, this is not just about, how to share knowledge. This is also, as you said, Valeriia and Liliya, it's about how to change habits, ways of working, approaches, and our products, they are really like transformational projects, and not about just rolling out something like new tool or so. This is also about shifting how people think and how they work, and interesting, that's always like mostly, let's say, that's across markets and cultures. So Lily, how do you know whatever transformation is actually happening? Like, not just on paper, that you have this project done, but you actually know this is. And like, another question for Valeriia, and what do you do when it's not happening? Like, I guess it's a question for you both. And how did that look from your perspective, Valeriia? Like results, like end results, like happening, not happening.
One of the first things that I usually look at is how the resistance changes over some period of time. At the beginning, we often hear confusion from the users, maybe even frustration, sometimes even silence, which is not a great sign at all. But later on, it starts to shift. You get more specific, more constructive feedback, people start questioning things, suggesting improvements, and honestly, any kind of detailed feedback, whether people are excited or they are challenging what we are proposing, that's actually a great feedback, because it means people are engaging. They care enough to say that something is not working for me, here is why. Right? That's when you know you are moving forward. And when the transformation is not happening, it's usually not only a learning problem, at least from my perspective. It may be also the process that is too complex, the tool that doesn't really fit how people work, or honestly, there may be no real reason for people to change. Because if something already works, even if it's not perfect, people will stick to it. So in those cases, my role is to say, let's do more trainings, right? Sometimes it's more about maybe the issue is not people. And that's important, because we need to fix the system, not explain it better. Because at the end of the day, no amount of training will fix something that doesn't work in real life. So what do you think about that, Lily?
That's very true, and I think overall the question is quite complex, right? Because as Roxana also mentioned, you can tick every milestone on your project plan and deliver everything, but then people are going back to what they did yesterday, so the change hasn't occurred. And also that's, I would say, this illusion that we have sometimes with the corporate learning, because on the dashboards, everything looks perfect, like everybody completed the necessary LMS courses, passed the test, got the training, got the certificates, but still it's not there. And this is something that also you already mentioned, that probably the system doesn't work, that or the process is not working for them, so that's easier just to stick back to what they had before. And I think just to build on top what Valeriia shared, is it's important for our team not only to watch on this dashboards, right, but also to track the behavioral indicators to see whether the change is actually happening. And we have those for different projects, right? But how that looks in practice, it's, for example, when one person comes to the meeting and asks questions that they haven't asked before, or challenging the legacy process that they had before, and that process was invisible for them, right? So those moments are quite rare, and they might be slow to arrive, but this is something real that can tell you whether that particular person has shifted the mindset, the skills, the competence, and so on. And I think the beauty of our team is that we are able to connect also those business metrics and those data that we see on the dashboards to the real human stories, because we are telling those stories, right? The champions that we have, the people who are advocating for our products, and so on. And when they share the stories, and as humans, I believe we love hearing stories, right? That creates also this peer-to-peer effect and this ripple effect that actually brings a wider change. So yeah, behavioral indicators and stories. This is what tells us if transformation happened.
And I like you to share one thing, like what is something about learning and enablement that you wish more people understood? And where do you think this work is heading?
I'll go first. I think what you mentioned, that's totally true. And I wish more people understood that typically enablement isn't what most people believe it is. So, as a humans, we have this tendency to assume that other people are thinking the way we think or understanding the same things we do understand. So it's quite often that, especially working in tech, that everybody assumes that it's easy to navigate complex technology and so on. It's just easy, just show them and they would know what to do with it, right? So as I said, it's not about the teaching people tools, but it's much more complex with a heart, hands, and head combination together. And it's also not about the content, but the context. I think what I'm learning recently, and it's much more present, is that you can build technically perfect program, but it lands with zero results because people who are on the receiving end, they might be busy, they don't have this mind space to receive it, they are busy with current task and so on, right? So I think what's crucial for us is that such programs are co-created with our clients because they know best what the people are experiencing and how we can support them better. And they can help us navigate the complexities of their teams. So I think this is key as a condition for success and for the results in our job. As referring to the question that you asked about where it is heading, right? So I think saying that AI will change the way we work, it's no news. Of course, everything's gonna change, the way we work, the way we produce, the way we engage, the way we personalize content and all of that. But I think to me, what still holds true is that if everybody has access to the same AI tools, let's say, and we are able to produce very quickly the outputs, what matters is actually not that quick results, but more the depth of our understanding, the ability to ask better questions. And if to use this analogy with 3H, it's basically that the hands will go faster, but then the head and the heart becomes more important in this equation, right? So I think it's still what humans will be super important. And I'm just thinking that we just need to keep learning, keep experimenting, and see where we will get with all of this new changing landscape.
From my side, I will divide also the question into two. And first of all, I'm going to answer with regards to the questions, what I wish more people understood, right? And building on top of Lily's point here, surprisingly, I agree. Learning isn't only about knowledge, it's also about the alignment. So getting a lot of different people to move in the same direction while they all are very busy, slightly skeptical and working under pressure. And if I'm totally honest, one thing that I've noticed a lot, especially in tech-driven projects, the idea that one demo, one demonstration equals adoption. Like we showed it, people saw it, we're done here. In the reality, it's just the beginning of everything and especially adoption. And because seeing something once doesn't mean that people understand it or trust it or want to change how they worked before because of it. So the biggest difficulty for us is to change this assumption, because without going really deeper, understanding how people learn, how habits work, what actually motivates the change, even the best tools, they just sit there and that's it. And moving to the questions about where are we moving towards, I have several ideas in here. First of all, it's learning in the flow of work. For example, instead of asking people to join the separate training, support shows up while they are actually doing this work and this specific task. For example, it can be short guidance inside the tool, step-by-step prompts, quick tips. So not like remember the training from last week, no, but more hear what you need right now in this very moment. Another thing is even more personalization, because we've already tailoring the trainings using the language of the audience, the templates, the brands, real examples, right? But the expectation is going higher and further each time. So more role specific, more context aware, more this is exactly for me at this very moment of time. Another thing I want to mention is more of creative formats like gamified learning, and it's not just the buzzword. We actually tried it, it worked, people engage more, they remember more. It turns out that even in a more complex and structured environments like Pharma, a bit of a friendly competition can go a long way. And of course, what Lily mentioned, it's AI-infused learnings. Not just a chat box, but smarter support that helps people to navigate this overall complexity. But keep in mind, not just AI for the sake of AI, right? Nobody needs another shiny tool that looks great in a demonstration but quietly gets ignored. The real value when it actually makes the things faster and simpler. And to sum up, I want to say that even with all of that, the above mentioned, the core will not change. It's still about understanding people, their context, and making their work easier. Because if it's more complicated, people will definitely find a workaround, and they are very creative with that.
The last one. Where do you think your work is heading?
Where our work is heading? Well, just briefly to share, I think our work is heading to the learning, as I mentioned, is changing in a way that instead of sharing knowledge, we need to find those moments where people can come to reflect, come to work together, come to brainstorm new ideas, to produce insight, right? Because this is what is most important at the moment when the knowledge is available. So I believe that our work would be to find those moments in the people's journey and to create those spaces where they can think better, more clearly, ask better questions, come with more insights. And how are you gonna do that? That's a big question even for me, but I think what's important is just to stay human, to remember about those human behaviors, and to keep learning, because this is just what we do as humans. Like, let's just keep doing that.
Valeriia, Lily, thank you for being here. Thank you for your answers.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, and we hope that it was useful for people who are listening to us or watching us.
Thank you very much for inviting us here.
Thanks, and to our listeners, thanks for joining another episode of Viseven Co-Creators. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao.